Good afternoon. Again, my name's Jay Meszar, and today we're going to talk about what's new across the Leica software platform. And one of the things that I find with software is, depending on the version that you're using, new can be a very relative term, because the software often ends up with people don't install the latest, or when they do install the latest, they don't really dig into it. And so some of these features may have been around a little while. I tried to kind of go with some of the later ones, but just so you know that before we jump in. All right. So once again, my name is Jay Meszar. I'm a senior solution consultant here with Imaginate. I've been working in the AEC or RCS space for about 27 years now. I mean, it's been forever. So I've been at Imaginate 16 years. So there's something to be said for Imaginate there, because I got a pretty good gig here, and I love working here. So I'm a Civil 3D certified professional, and been working with the RCS team now for about the past 8 years. So hopefully that brings me with a little bit of experience, and any questions you might have, I might be able to answer for you and get you on the right path. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about the Leica software, obviously, and some of the new features. That includes the features in Register 360, of course, Register 360 Plus, Register 360 Plus BLK Edition. We'll talk about some of the CloudWorks, and again, I use the term new a little bit loosely here. New features there. Cyclone 3DR has some new features. If you haven't checked those out yet, definitely worth a look into. And what Leica's done with data storage and management, and how we can go about working with our point cloud data, whether it be inside our own company, or whether it be with sharing it with any sub-consultants or things like that. Right. So again, like I said earlier, we're going to talk about Register 360 Plus and Register 360 Plus BLK Edition, and what I'm about to show you kind of has spanned about the 2023 through the current 2024 versions. So if you see something and you say to yourself, well, that's been around a while, it probably has. I'm trying to kind of get everybody included here, because I know everybody doesn't update right away when the new software comes out. Okay. So first things first, if you are using I'll say an older version now, Register 360 and Register 360 BLK Edition were rebranded to Register 360 Plus and Register 360 Plus BLK Edition. What does that mean to you? Well, on the surface, of course, there's just a very simple name change. But that Plus has added some new features that we're going to talk about here, right? And those new features are included inside the Register 360 Plus and BLK Edition, are the publisher features that have been added into the software without the need for an extra license. So in the past, we used to have to purchase what was then known as a publisher license, now been rebranded a workflow license, in order to get a Leica LGS file, or to get an RCP file. Well, that's not necessary anymore. We can get the LGS file, we can get the RCP without that publisher or workflow license, as it's now known. Okay. I just want to point out here, if you read the parentheses that's on my slide there, this does not include the Publisher Pro features, some of which include being able to add model data to your LGSX files, which also includes being able to look at your point cloud in VR. So there's a couple of features there that are not included with the regular Register 360 Plus that we would get with that workflow license. So there's definitely value in the workflow license, but if you're just looking to get the LGS or the RCP, we can certainly get that right out of the software with these new versions. Okay. This also includes being able to export an E57 directly from Cyclone Field 360. Right. For those of you who may be new to the Leica environment or just on here to get some information about what Leica does and how they do it, Field 360 is an app that runs on iOS or Android and allows us to control our scanners and register data out in the field. Okay. So when it's all said and done, we can scan in the field with our Field 360 app. We can register all of our data within the app, and then we can send that data directly off from Field 360 to an E57 if we wish. We can also be able to publish that project to Register 360 Plus from CloudWorks without the need for the LGS or LGSX file. So for those of you who are familiar with Register 360, you know that for the longest time, or since Register 360 came out, that is, we had to actually get an output file and then take the output file directly into our CloudWorks for AutoCAD or CloudWorks for Revit, etc. We no longer have to do that. We can publish our data right in Register 360, and as long as that data exists on the same machine with CloudWorks, we can go ahead and open the Register 360 database right inside the CloudWorks applications, right? Why is this important? Who cares, right? Well, I care because this eliminates the need for me to create an extra file taking up extra space on my hard drive when all I'm looking to do is work by myself on my machine and not share that data out to anybody else. So it's a nice little feature, especially if you have limited hard drive space. Right? So then we kind of talk about Leica's classification tools. What is classification? You know, it's a kind of a funny thing because a long time ago, when I was getting into working with point cloud data, heard all kind of people asking about classification. And you know, then it kind of went away for a while, and now it's back. And so I hear a lot about classification, but when I talk to some users, when I mention the term, they often kind of go, what's classification? I don't understand. What's that mean? So I wanted to bring that up here. Classification in a point cloud is where the software sorts through the point cloud and initially colorizes it to be able to put each different type of object on different, I'm going to use an AutoCAD term here, different layers. And those layers are equivalent to a class. And so if we look at the image that's here on the side of my PowerPoint slide, we can see that the walls are gray, the floor is green, some of the pipes are brown, right? And so that's putting these points on their own individual classes, and we can then separate out those classes to help with cleanup. We can export only a single class, like for instance, if you've scanned outdoors and maybe you've scanned a parking lot, and you can run the classification and classify all the trees as vegetation, the grass as vegetation, and be able to classify pavement, and then be able to take that pavement into something like Cyclone 3DR and create a surface of just that pavement. Or for you Civil 3D users, we maybe take it into CloudWorks for AutoCAD and place some COGO points on that surface without having to worry about getting high points and low points, because everything's been classified as pavement. So hopefully that makes sense for all of you. Certainly willing to answer any sort of questions after the fact, if there are any, right? And then there's, some good news, bad news situations, right? Where TrueView Enterprise and Jetstream Enterprise, if you have those softwares, they're currently being phased out. And, initially people might be a little bummed out about that, but when you see the alternatives to it and look and see what the alternatives can do, which we'll touch on here a little bit later, you'll quickly forget about these ones being phased out and be looking forward to the new softwares coming up. Right. For those of you who have a BLK to go or something like that, we can actually publish the tracks in Register 360 out to an LGS file, so you can see where you walked throughout an entire space. Right? You don't have to do this. You could certainly just skip it. It's in the settings of our Register 360 Plus or Register 360 Plus BLK Edition, but kind of a neat little feature. If you look at the image there, we can see where everybody walked when they used the scanner. Now, for those of you who are neat freaks about your point cloud, right? You go through and you clean up every single stray point that's out there. Well, one of the things that I've heard from people in the past is that they go through and they clean up this point cloud, and they have a little bit of frustration because their files didn't get any smaller, right? And why didn't it get any smaller? Well, we have to remember that our data still exists in the database, even if we've deleted the points. So if we delete the points, and we can get them back. Well, maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want to just make your files a little bit smaller by cleaning everything up. Well, now in your projects and storage dialog box, there's a compact feature, which will take all of those deleted points and wipe them away, okay? You want to be careful with this, because if you do use it and you decide, oh, I really want to get those points back, well, there's no going back from there. So again, want to be a little bit careful with that. All right. Register 360 Plus and BLK Edition continued on. With the new versions, Leica has introduced a new data architecture. And this is important for a lot of people. When you move from the previous versions of Register 360 and you move on up to the later versions, the newer versions, right? That data architecture is introduced. Your old databases will have to be brought forward. Now, you can do that through Register 360, or there is a Register 360 database converter tool that you can get, right? And that will allow you to do several different databases at one time. And, just a heads up, depending on the size of your databases, this can take a little bit. So you want to plan for that and run your conversion, plan to walk away and just let the thing go. Okay. What does that data architecture, why did they update it? Why are they doing these things? Why don't they just leave it alone? Well, because we get new features with the new architecture. Faster publishing, right? I've noticed significantly faster publishing on some of my projects. I don't sit there and wait as long as I used to. Higher compression. Going from some of my old databases to the new, I've saved gigabytes worth of space. So, again, with point cloud data, sometimes these files get very big. We want to make sure that we're able to pare them down as much as we can. Okay. New visualization experiences, being able to view our point clouds in different ways. The LGSX file was introduced. Now, yes, this is the same thing as an LGS, except, once again, getting higher compression, right? Files are getting smaller, not larger. We have support for the BLK ARC, if any of you have that device, and improved visualization for large point clouds. What does this mean? Well, if you take one of your very large point clouds and you run it in one of the older versions of Register 360, what's going to happen is when you do an orbit, that orbit is going to go ahead and say, all right, well, I've orbited, and now I'm going to draw this up in pieces. And it looks very, very slow. So the new improved visualization has those larger point clouds drawing up much faster. Okay. All right. So let's move on from Register 360 and let's talk a little bit about CloudWorks. Now, CloudWorks hasn't changed a ton over the past several years anyway, but CloudWorks doesn't seem to look like it's changed. But there's been a number of tools that have been added. And I'm going to cover a couple here that you can get in CloudWorks for AutoCAD or CloudWorks for Revit. Okay, so let's start with Pipe Modeler. Now, any of you that are out there that have worked with the Leica Cyclone products, the original Cyclone products and Cyclone model, you remember there was a tool that we used to use that could help us model pipe in that software, and it was pretty efficient, right? Well, it seems that Leica's been able to make a change and kind of port that tool over to CloudWorks. And what it does is it allows us to go in, and if you're looking at the screen here, it allows us to open the pipe modeler tool. We can start the pipe modeler and simply click on a pipe. Now, if you have enough data on that pipe or on that pipe run, the software will go ahead and follow that pipe run as far as it can, putting in all the tangent pieces of pipe. Once you look at it, it gives you a preview of what it's done. You can put in a standard bend ratio for your pipe elbows. And once you put in that bend ratio, you simply hit finish and all of the elbows are added to that pipe run. Pretty fast. If that pipe run gets interrupted for any reason, maybe you didn't collect enough data on that pipe run, right? The software will just simply stop and you can go in and add individual pieces of pipe on your own. Once you've finished with the pipe modeler, you can simply hit a button that says, send it on over to CAD or save piping, and all of your pipe goes over to your AutoCAD as 3D cylinders, or if you're in Revit, as 3D pipes. It's a pretty fantastic tool. Allows for the very quick creation of pipes through the CloudWorks tool. All right, so if we continue on, you can see what that pipe might look like when it's saved and sent over to Revit. This is actually an image from Revit itself. All right, so now we look about the floor plan tool. A floor plan tool is something that, I mean, people have been asking for something like this for so long, and I'm pretty pleased with what Leica's done here. You can see that that's kind of its own window, just like the pipe modeler is. And what we're able to do is go in and cut a very thin slice through the point cloud. Right, so think about being able to take something that's maybe 2 or 3 inches high and cutting right through a floor plan so you can look down on top of it and see the actual floor plan without the floor, without the ceiling. We can then use the tools to construct polylines in this window and simply left mouse click on each wall that we want to create. The tool will then follow the point cloud. We have a choice to use ortho or not use ortho, meaning, do we want it to follow the point cloud exactly? Or do we want it to make sure that it always creates 90-degree angles? Which is that's your choice, of course, right? So as you go all the way around, if you leave ortho off, it follows the point cloud the best it can. And we get back to the end and we simply hit close. I end up with a green line like you see here. Now, if I leave ortho on, it always creates the 90-degree angles between every wall. Sometimes that means it's not quite following the point cloud. But we always have the option to select this polyline and make some simple edits. Okay? When it's all said and done, we can push those polylines out, in this case, to Revit. And once it's out in Revit, where our data is now Revit walls, and we can edit them just like any other Revit object. So those are just a couple of tools, and I don't have them here on my slide, but if you don't use CloudWorks and you know, you're kind of looking for something to do a variety of other things, CloudWorks might be the tool you're looking for, because we have the ability to not only create pipes, not only create walls, we can create ductwork, we can create structural steel, we can create doors, windows, columns, and more, all in CloudWorks. And whether that be for Revit, you know, most of those are for Revit, but we could also do some of that in CloudWorks or AutoCAD, depending on what it is you're looking for. All right, we're going to switch gears again, and we're going to head over and start talking about Cyclone 3DR. With the new versions, we have complete Leica hardware support. Can use any of the Leica hardware that we want to be able to create meshes in Cyclone 3DR. And I should back up and just state, for all of you who don't have an idea of what the heck Cyclone 3DR is, it's a tool that allows us to primarily create meshes from our point cloud data, right? but there is so much more available in 3DR. We can do meshes, we can do analysis, we can do tank analysis, we can do pipes, which you'll see here in a moment. We can do all kinds of things with 3DR. Has an amazing reporting feature that we can do in there as well. So with the new versions, we also have the ability to do for LGSX support, right? So that LGS file is huge now in Leica world. 3DR has Reality Cloud Studio support. What is Reality Cloud Studio? Well, we're going to pause there. We're going to leave you in suspense, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit when we get to data storage. We can create individual notes and sync views. So the 3 views that you're seeing there in 3DR are all synced. So when you rotate from in one view, the other views will rotate to show you the same angle of that view. All right. Then we have the plant edition, right? And plant edition, you know, is something new. There used to be there are different modules for 3DR, and one of those modules used to be the tank edition or the tank module, which allowed us to do some tank analysis and things like that. Leica has since renamed that, and that has now become the plant edition, because plant allows us to do pipes, right? As you can see here, I'm importing, or I've got a pipe being created down at the bottom. I can create the elbow at the bottom there in purple, and we can create the eccentric and concentric reducers, and that's what's in purple now. And then when it's all said and done, you can model all of those pipes here in 3DR very, very quickly, okay? All of those can be exported out in different formats, whether it be an IFC file or a couple of other formats. All right, so let's talk data storage. Remember earlier I said for you TrueView and Jetstream Enterprise users that those products were going away, and Leica had shifted gears, and it's been a little while now that Cyclone Enterprise was introduced. So I want to explain what this is. Cyclone Enterprise is a software tool that allows us to take our point cloud data and store it inside our own environment, whether it be our own physical server or a virtual server, maybe on AWS or Azure. And we can push all of our point cloud data to that server. Now, the advantage to this is that we can take our Cyclone Enterprise and we can, let me back up. We can take our data to Cyclone Enterprise, leave it in that one location, and therefore anybody who's using the CloudWorks applications, anybody who's using the TrueView local app, the free app that Leica has, can connect to Cyclone Enterprise, and they can pull that data down and stream their own data, much like we stream movies on our TVs. This eliminates the need for us to have the LGS file on every local machine. So Cyclone Enterprise now has support for the LGSX, which can be uploaded to our Cyclone Enterprise server and be shared across our company. Now, the advantage to this is we can set up different roles within our company. Maybe maybe we have a CAD user who we want to be able to see the point cloud, but we don't want them to be able to change that project anywhere. Well, that CAD user can be given a role that doesn't allow them to edit any of the project data on Cyclone Enterprise. We can have super user, which can add project data but not manage the project after it's been added. And then we've got an administrator, and we've got a project manager user that can edit and do all of the other things that the other users are not able to do, right? And that way, we can also take those individual users and put them into groups and say that this group is allowed to see this one job, and this other group is allowed to see a different job, but they each can't see each other's job unless they're given permission. So pretty powerful tool for your data storage. Again, support for LGSX, right? LGSX for local storage. We can merge project data in Cyclone Enterprise now. The improved geotag visibility options. You can see that I've got a couple of geotags there. In the past, geotags kind of just, if you used them, they popped up everywhere and they could be seen through the point cloud. That's no longer the case. You kind of have to navigate your way around to be able to see them. Right? Let's talk about Reality Cloud Studio. Now, this one, a lot of people don't know about yet. And Reality Cloud Studio is a product that Leica has recently introduced, and I say recently, it's been a little while now, but Leica manages the storage. So it's different from the enterprise tool. Reality Cloud Studio allows us to take our data, put it up in the cloud, and when I say the cloud, I mean Leica managed storage, right? We can connect to that data, we can share that data, and we don't have to go to taking our LGS files or even converting our LGS files into a lesser format to be able to send off to somebody through Dropbox or whatever you use. It can be stored in Reality Cloud Studio and then shared via email address. Some of the features, we can upload data from BLK devices and LGSX files. That data gets stored on Leica's storage servers. Leica has an auto registration tool, which will register some of your data for you. And then they also have an auto meshing tool that takes your data and turns it from point cloud data into a 3D mesh, which is what you're looking at here. So Reality Cloud Studio is a very powerful tool to be able to do, it really solves a lot of users' point cloud and storage issues because they're trying to send these files all around. All right, so I think that's what I have for you, and I'll go ahead and ask Lori to turn it over to questions.